This program is part of the Infinite Potato Alliance. Visit us at infinitepotato.com.
I'm Jared Stern. I think people should listen because we're desperate for attention right now.
I'm also Jared Stern. This is what I like to call an exercise in benign narcissism.
And you're Between Two Sterns.
Hey! We're back.
We're back.
We decided to keep on doing this.
We're still doing that.
I understand there's a lot going on, and a lot has gone on since last we left you.
The decision we made was we weren't going to come back to the podcast until we had something to talk about. And we just... and now there's everything to talk about.
Listen, I want to start things off with an apology to the listeners who are listening.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we've been gone for a while. Hopefully, you've missed us. But before we even had that gap, I was planning to address the following. We've been doing this show for a long time, coming up on 4 years. We are coming up on the 4-year anniversary of this show, and there are only so many original thoughts that we can have.
Are you talking about the thing? The thing that happened?
Which thing that happened?
Where we did 2 episodes which were the exact same
Yes. So we basically, essentially, and normally when we do this, and because we've been kind of intermittent with our spacing, the episodes were far apart. Like one was the one that we are referencing was done in April.
Yeah.
Right. And the most recent version of it that we did was the last episode we did. Anyway, so when we were railing against bad drivers and student drivers and all that stuff, we've done that before. And I went back and listened to like the other podcast, the previous podcast, and I made the same fucking Kobayashi Maru joke. And again, I apologize. I'm so sorry that we are so addled and our attention spans are so goldfish-like that we can't remember what we've already talked about.
I think that this is just another example of how similar we are to the show Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because they did this as well. They did an episode where they just started and they were like, we've done this before. And the whole premise of the episode was that they were accidentally doing the same thing that they had already done.
But they weren't accidentally doing it. They wrote the script purposely to do that.
And that's the second point, which is, I don't think this is on us.
You don't think so?
I think that we did an episode about how bad drivers were because drivers were so bad.
True.
And then drivers not only remained so bad, but became so much worse that it was as if it was happening again for the first time. So much so that we were like, our brains were like, this not only is still an issue, but it needs to be talked about again.
But here's the thing. Sure, and that's fine, and we can tackle the same subject more than once. We have to. There's only so many things happening, but there are so many things happening. But there's only so many topics one can discuss in this format. But if we're going to cover the same subject, again, I don't want to say the exact same goddamn things. And
I think it just shows your comedic instincts are right on. Like, you're driving into the same funnel. You're like, hey, my brain is working at such peak efficiency.
Oh, no, it
that
is
your
not.
subconscious is making the same association that it should be making each time.
No, I think it proves that that peak efficiency has long passed me by.
Look, we did an episode about drivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We repeated the thing about drivers. You made the comment about how we're coming up on 4 years.
4 years.
Loyalists of the show will recall that one of the first episodes we did was post January 6th.
That's right.
And just to pause for a second, here's an interesting thing. When I say January 6th, I would argue to say that not a single person has to go, what happened January 6th?
Yeah, right.
We haven't said what's happening January 6th. But there are certain events in time that are just solidified based off of the date. For example, if I were to be like, oh, it's the 4th of July, we all associate that with the 4th of July.
Sure.
Or if I were to say, it's 9/11, we know what 9/11 is.
Yep.
So when I say January 6th, it's locked in because some stuff happened. And it turns out that stuff doesn't fucking matter to a lot of people.
Nope.
Doesn't matter at all. And in the grand scheme of repeating mistakes, I think repeating the same episode about driving cars is nowhere near as bad as repeating the same mistake that led us to not only January 6th, and I just don't give a shit, the removal of women's rights and pretty much the entire fuckery that's going on right now.
Well, listen, I think we can all agree that things are about to get a lot stupider and a lot shittier.
Yeah.
And although we are not a political podcast.
No.
We are not.
No.
Don't purport to be, don't have the breadth of knowledge that it would take to actually do the research, to actually
I
talk
also
about
think it's important to note that based off of this election, research and intellect on the subject matter not anymore.
Well, what I was
within
going
the
to say
yeah.
is there is an idiom that says that those who do not learn their history are doomed to repeat it. And the powers that are soon to be have realized that the solution to that is just don't teach history. So you don't even have to worry about learning it.
Correct.
So there it is. Anyway, as the country careens into darker and darker territory, we are in this handbasket with you. And we are here to offer the best distraction we possibly can from all of the horrible, scary nonsense that's about to occur. Hoard your fluoridated water, and buy crypto, because that's going to be the basis of the economy after the power grid collapses because of all the Bitcoin mining.
I'm going to do my best to not say much of what I'm thinking,
I know.
or certainly any of what I'm feeling on the podcast. And I think there will be some sort of anecdote at the end. But what I will share with you is, if any of you are feeling similarly to me, there are a lot of us who are hurting, deeply hurting, not just over the politics, but over what a vote for Trump represents, not just on a political level, but on a moral level, on an ethical level. I think it has caused a number of us to reflect deeply in whatever has happened to this world, where the supporting of what that represents is justifiable in any way. You're not alone. As I have said, a majority of people can agree on something, and that thing they agree on can still be wrong. And you don't really need to look further than Germany, where a grand majority of the population, whether out of fear or agreed on certain choices during that period of time, and it still didn't make it right. So just be aware that a lot of people can agree on the wrong thing, and a lot of people can have, for whatever reason, blinders on that make them make choices that question a lot of things. But you're not alone, and I will do my best to not go too heavy in this.
Luckily, I have a lot of stuff to talk about. Because one of the reasons why we've been gone for so long is I and my lovely wife were in Greece and Turkey for 2 weeks. We were on a cruise, and part of the draw, the lure of going on that trip was we weren't going to be in the country during the election. We're like, great, we can have a respite from campaign ads and just all of the bullshit and nonsense, and not be here when whatever shenanigans went down. Now, we did have to come back.
Which was nothing, by the way, because we swapped places. I was in D.C. for the election.
Yeah.
Because my girlfriend lives in D.C. And we walked out of the Capitol that night, and it was fucking silent.
Yeah,
it was
imagine.
it was like that depressing silence. But yeah, so it was nice that we swapped places for one of these.
We were able to, like our connection to what was happening was flimsy.
Yeah.
I mean, we had internet, we had Wi-Fi, but we weren't really, like, I wasn't scrolling Twitter. But by the way, I don't know if you already have, but I have deactivated my account and uninstalled the app from my phone, and I am the very first Jared Stern on Blue Sky.
Is Blue Sky the Twitter? Hey, Chloe. Is Twitter the Blue Sky the Twitter replacement?
Yes, Blue Sky is the one that the guy who used to run Twitter before Elon bought it.
Yeah.
He started that up. And
Was
so-
Flappy Bird take? Oh, I guess Flappy Bird was taking it.
Very possibly. Anyway, so the membership on Blue Sky has Blue Sky rocketed.
Good.
I got in on it like a year ago when it was invite only. I knew somebody who knew somebody, and so yeah, I'm the first Jared Stern on Blue Sky, which I think has garnered me a bunch of followers that think I'm the Hollywood Jared Stern. But
Ooh, yeah.
they can listen to the podcast and find out otherwise. So let me tell you about this magical trip.
By the way, to answer your question, I haven't been on Twitter or X at all. The only time I logged back in because I don't do fucking anything on there, was because on the election night, we all wanted to watch Steve Kornacki, who is the NBC results guy. Kornacki, great guy. And NBC advertised that they would be running on Peacock a Kornacki cam.
Oh.
That is just on him.
Just right on his khaki crotch.
Just like he would be cutting in and out to the actual live stream, but it would be on him the entire time. And the only respite and distraction I had from the shit show that was happening was I couldn't understand why they chose that angle. Because if we're looking, pull up the video on Spotify so you can see what I'm doing. So if this is the camera he's looking straight forward at, right?
Yeah.
To his right is the board. So where you're sitting would be the board with all the maps and whatnot over here. The camera was behind him to his left. So the entire night was a picture of his back and his ass with no audio playing what the fuck he was talking about.
Well, because they know what people are watching for. They want to see America's ass. And that's Steve Kornacki.
They should have gotten Chris Evans if that's the case. But it was the most, at the very least, turn the camera so that you're seeing his fucking face as he's doing. Anyway. But yes, your trip, sorry.
Sure, no. So we started the trip in Athens, and we had a couple days in Athens before we picked up the boat. Mm-hmm. And so we went from when you're watching the TV and you step away for a moment and you pause the TV, they will have screensaver photos of faraway places.
This is in Athens.
No, here.
Okay.
Xfinity or whoever my cable provider is.
I haven't had cable in years. I don't know how the TV works.
Okay, so for the rest of you at home who actually, might still have cable, when you hit pause on the TV and it goes to the screensaver mode, it shows you different places, different faraway, far-flung, exotic places. And one of the places it showed was a spot called Meteora. I don't know if you're familiar with Meteora, but we found out, in Greece, about 4 hours away from Athens.
Okay.
And it is a mountainous region with monasteries, ancient monasteries built on top of these mountains.
That's pretty cool.
And it is cool as hell. And so when we found out that it was going to be close by to where we were going to be, we figured we'd book a day trip. We took a bus up from Athens up to Meteora to go check that out. And I was worried that would be the best thing we saw on the entire trip, because it was absolutely like we took a sunset tour and watched the sunset over the mountains.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it was absolutely gorgeous. Do yourself a favor, Google Meteora, and you can get just a taste of what I got to look at.
If you send them to me, we'll just edit them in and just kind of pop them in as
we
we're
can
going.
pop them in as we're going. All right, you know what?
I don't know if we put it up here.
You can just, or you can just cover our faces and you can look at
Right.
look at fancy pictures while we're talking. Anyway, so we're up in Meteora, and so we did the sunset tour, and then the next day, Andrea booked us for a hike.
Oh.
Down from, we went back up to the monasteries, toured one of the monasteries, and then, excuse me, a group of us hiked down from the monastery to like the base of the mountains.
Cool.
Again, gorgeous, huge, gorgeous cliff sides, amazing vistas. We'll put pictures of it here. Anyway, the reason why I tell you about this is, and you can't really see it now because it's been a couple weeks since it happened, but while we were on the hike, this particular Jared Stern filled his quota of falling down for the first time in a while. You can't really see it because it's nice and scabbed over.
My
but
God.
I took a nice little chunk out of my arm. This whole area was a giant scab for a while. But yeah, I slipped on a rock and just basically fell directly onto my arm.
Jesus.
And thank God nothing was broken, but I was a bloody mess for quite a bit. And luckily the guide had a first aid kit, and so he had iodine and gauze.
I had no idea.
Yeah, well, I mean...
You saved it for the podcast.
I saved it for the podcast.
I also really appreciate that's where it was going, because it looked like you were just derobing out of nowhere. Like, you were just like, and by the way, let me just pop this shirt off. Something I got a whole sleeve tattoo. Like, it could have gone any direction.
It could have gone any direction. But we hiked down, and Andrea is an eagle-eyed person. Mm-hmm. She's one of my... She's able to she's what I like to call a lazy detective, because she's able to analyze context clues very easily, but also she just has a keen eye for where things might be. And as we were driving into Meteora, she made note of the fact that there was a medical center there.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So when we got down to the bottom of the mountain, back into the main city, back into the what was the name of the actual town? Can't remember it right now. Anyway, when we got back into the town, she was like, "Well, I think it's over here," and she was able to lead me over there. Anyway, so a little bit of context for this. What we did not realize was that that Monday when we were hiking was a Greek national holiday.
Oh.
It is called Ohi Day. Now, in Greek, Ohi means no. And it commemorates back in the start of World War II, when the Greeks told Mussolini to go fuck himself. Mm-hmm. He sent a letter to the Greek powers that be, saying that his army was going to be occupying Greece, and we'd appreciate it if there was no resistance, and they resisted. So this was the day that they commemorated that. There was a big celebration in the town. Anyway, because of that, there was nobody at this hospital.
That's good.
The doctors were there, but there was nobody. Like, I had four doctors looking at my arm.
They were just bored? They
Yeah.
were like,
We got nothing else going on. Here's some dumb American who fucking fell and hurt himself.
You would think with the festivities that somebody might fall and get hurt.
Well, yeah, the falling get hurt, but I do much like our Independence Day or just celebrations in general. Not a ton of explosions, not a ton of fireworks or anything like that, where you could have lost a digit, perhaps.
So, a slight tangent, and
Please.
this is why I assumed something might have inadvertently gone down. So I know I brought this up on the podcast before, so don't worry, I'm not going to do a redaction next time. But when I had first moved to New York, I was, I want to say 25-ish.
Okay.
I lived in Astoria, which is a predominantly Greek area of New York City. And I remember distinctly one time, coming back from work, I was working at a restaurant, and I got off the N train at Ditmars. I'll never forget this. And as I got off the train, I saw in the streets a whole bunch of people in white robes and hoods holding torches and crosses. And with the last name Stern, I'm sensitive to these moments.
Sure.
And I panicked a little bit, where I was like, this seems a little odd. And then, like, avoided this crowd and, like, got back to my apartment and, like, double and triple blocked. And then I found out what Greek Easter was. Which, again, like most things in this world, there's certain symbols that exist in both a nefarious and terrible way, and also a not so nefarious and terrible way. Like, for example, this is just what Greek Easter is. It's their way of celebrating.
Yeah,
You
sure.
can look it up. Obviously separate from the KKK.
Sure. I mean, I don't think the Greeks were chanting "Jews will not replace us."
Not dissimilar to the fact that, like, the swastika was originally like a...
Yeah. No, that symbol was co-opted by the
exactly.
Nazis. Yes.
So, again, but fucking terrifying. So I know how the Greeks celebrate, and I was like, maybe a couple burns here and there, like maybe an inadvertent, like...
We didn't see anything like that. There were a lot of balloons. There was, just a lot of Greek flags and festivities, but nothing that seemed out of the ordinary or perilous. It's a pretty non-threatening celebration. So anyway, I got my arm all bandaged up, just mummified from the elbow down, and so that was a nice. I'm kind of glad that happened early in the trip, just so I could just take care of whatever. Everything was uphill from there. Aside from the fact that because it was on the bottom of my arm,
And your right arm, too. Your right arm dominant.
yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And so whenever I put my arm down on something, it stung, or sleeping was a pain in the
Showering.
ass. Showering was a pain in the ass. Also, the wound did not, because it was covered up, it didn't, scab over properly to start with. So it was...
What's the healthcare system like there?
I paid a $20 copay to get that done.
And that's it?
That was it.
No major bills?
No major bills, but
Fucking socialism.
Yeah. But yeah, it was that wasn't a great part of the trip. And then what we found out is, so we had a 4-hour bus ride up to Meteora, and then what we found out is, because Meteora is a vacation destination not just for international tourists, but also for all of the Greeks.
Oh!
So everybody was in Meteora, and that meant when it was time for us to go home, everybody went home.
Yeah.
And so what took us 4 hours to get there took us 7.5 hours to get back. So that was fun. Anyway, and then we picked up the boat, and we went to Patmos, and we went to the big draw on this cruise, aside from the fact that we would get to be out of town during the election, was they were having a white glove 5-star gourmet dinner at Ephesus.
Ooh.
Do you know what Ephesus is?
It really depends upon the word, but I think I usually put the right emphasis on the right syllable.
Yeah, that's exactly what this was.
Look, the fact that you got through that whole thing and I didn't talk about some sort of meteoric fall when you tripped and fell.
Oh yeah,
was a testament to how distracted I am right now.
It really is. You're really off your game. And
I am off my game. Go on.
Anyway, so the big draw was dinner at Ephesus. Ephesus is a giant garden of Roman ruins in Turkey. They have if you haven't seen a ton of ruins, that's a good place to go see them. And so they had a seated dinner at this in this very just an awesome setup. They had a string quartet, and it was very fancy. Anyway, so one of the funny things about this trip was, so we made friends with a couple of other couples, because we gravitated towards people who were around our age.
Yeah.
Because if you've cruised a lot, you realize there aren't a ton of people around our age who are who are cruisers.
No.
But anyway, so we ran into this one couple. We were touring around Kusadasi. Kusadasi is the main town wherein Ephesus resides, and it's so typically during the very busy seasons, it's full of like the bazaars and a lot of vendors and a lot of aggressive salesmanship. But because it's spread out over a lot of tourists, you don't normally feel it. Like there is the sign "Genuine Fake Watches" was up in numerous places. I feel like the entire city or the entire area of Kusadasi should have just had, you know, the warning you get on your phone when you get a spam call that says scam, scam likely,
maybe scam.
Yep,
Yeah.
that should have just been like on the just basically printed. Welcome to Kusadasi, scam likely.
Genuine scamming.
Yes, exactly. So Andrea and I were walking around, and because we were touring during shoulder season, we're touring basically toward the end of the season for all of these places that we went to. They were all basically beach towns. So since we were traveling at tail end of October, beginning of November, most tourists don't want to be at the beach during that time, and so the streets were largely empty. So when the vendors saw that a cruise ship was emptying out, they were like, "Okay, fresh meat."
Just all like lining up.
Yeah. So we were getting harangued to no end, and so we were like, we weren't really feeling Kusadasi, and so we decided to head back to the boat. We're gonna, maybe just have lunch on the boat and just hang out on the by the pool or whatever. Anyway, so we ran into this other couple, very nice couple. They were from Vancouver Island in Canada, and we exchanged pleasantries, and we introduced ourselves briefly as they were heading out to the city, and we were heading back towards the boat. But because we had met them briefly outside, we recognized them when it came time to sit down for this giant dinner.
Sure.
So we sat down next to them, and they're a Jewish couple, and we started playing a little bit of Jewish geography, and somehow, some way, they're familiar with where I grew up, Silver Spring, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
So, because we were talking about where you grew up, just outside DC, Silver Spring, Maryland. Oh, well, we know Silver Spring. What synagogue did you go to? And I said, oh, Sher Tefillah. Turns out, I went to Hebrew school with the husband's cousin.
Shut up.
So, yeah, like the most random possible.
You've got to be careful with this information, because there's a lot of people that this is just going to reinforce that all of us know each other.
Yeah, I mean, Jewish geography is a real thing. The world has 40 people in it. So
that's so random, though.
Yeah,
that's so random.
But it was so cool. So we ended up spending a lot of time with them and another couple that we met at the very beginning of the trip. We invited them to come with us on a private tour of roads that a friend of Andrea's had set us up with a private driver to drive us around.
That's cool.
Check it out. So we invited them along with us. So we went to a place called Anthony Quinn Bay, which was named after the actor Anthony Quinn because he did Zorba the Greek, and he's beloved in Greece apparently. So they named a bay after him, and that was gorgeous. And we ate. So man, the food on this trip was amazing.
Yeah,
I ate my weight in calamari, lightly fried calamari. We ate our weight.
Sounds delicious.
Enough feta cheese to sink the fucking cruise ship.
Yeah.
The food was amazing, and because it's the Mediterranean diet, you can eat a lot, and it doesn't really matter because
there's no calories.
Well, no, it really is on the whole good for you.
Yeah, I know.
You know, olive oil is good for you.
Chickpeas,
All the vegetables and legumes and
sure.
just all that stuff that you're supposed to be eating. Coming back to the States, I was like, it really struck me at how fresh all the food was at every single place we went. So my gristle memory had to kick back in to try to get my body back used to all of the processed garbage that we eat here.
Of course.
So let's see. So trying to think what else. So because we invited them on that part of our tour. The next day, we had an overnight in Rhodes. The next day, they had set up a private tour of the oldest synagogue in Europe, which just happens to be in Rhodes.
Very cool.
Yeah, and so we were invited along on that. We got to and this place is not open year round. Like, it was closed, and the guys who manages it, his wife gave him the keys, and they opened it up special for us, and got to tour the synagogue and the adjacent museum next to it. And I was talking about the Ohi Day, and when they told Mussolini to go fuck himself, that was great for the mainland, not great for the islands.
No,
because when Hitler came through, all the Jews got rounded up on all the islands and shipped out to whichever concentration camp. So that was all documented in the museum. Apparently the Jewish population in Rhodes, small but significant.
Yeah.
But it was really great. It was lovely, and it was just an interesting piece of history that we weren't planning on being a part of. So that was pretty cool. And what's some other highlights from the trip? Now that I'm here on the spot, and I had thought about this. We ate so much and we drank so much, because part of the other thing that was great about this trip was all inclusive.
Love an all inclusive.
Right, and we didn't have to pay.
Love an all inclusive.
Didn't have to pay extra for all inclusive. So unlike last time when we did pay extra for all inclusive, and I felt like I had to drink my money's worth each day to make sure that we got what we were paying for. This time it was just.
Speaking of things that you got, and I'm surprised you haven't highlighted on it, considering how much you've been coughing throughout all of this.
Oh, yeah.
But you also got COVID, which I appreciate you bringing me back something. It was nice.
I am negative.
It was nice to bring me a souvenir.
I am testing negative, and I would not have come over here.
I know.
If I was in any way putting you in danger.
Trust me, honestly, I could take a little COVID.
But yeah, so towards the end. Excuse me. I know. Here's the thing. Towards the end of the trip, after a while, we needed a vacation from the vacation.
Yeah.
So many gorgeous sights, so many beautiful things to see, so much delicious food. We met so many great people. By the end of it, we really missed Winnie. And we really wanted to come home.
Of course.
So she was being tended to by some friends of ours. They have a 9-year-old daughter, and this is kind of like her intro to like her starter, like a starter dog. Let's test these waters and see. And they would send back pictures of Winnie snuggling with her, before she went to school and getting tummy rubs. And we were like, well, we're going to have to set up a visitation schedule because we might not get the dog back. But anyway, so Andrea got kind of like a head cold, and she tested, she was very diligent about testing to make sure whatever she had was not COVID.
Yeah.
She brought tests with her, so she tested, and she came back with nothing. And she got just kind of a light head cold, no problem. Then she gave it to me, and apparently my immune system went on vacation too. I'm not sure where it went, but I hope it had a good time. And so when we got off the boat back in Athens, Andrea got us this really swanky hotel, and again, because it's off season, like it wasn't full, and we got upgraded to like an executive suite, and there was a Michelin star restaurant in the hotel, and there was supposed to be each person gets a half-hour massage.
Love that.
Oh, it was great for her because I was running 101 fever and sweating through the sheets, having some bitchin' fever dreams. While she went she went and had her massage. I was like, please don't go take advantage of this. You don't have to sit here with me. But yeah.
Well, in the grand scheme of the trip, you want it in that order. You want to have a great trip and then get sick. You don't want to have that illness hit and then if it was going to have to be this way, it was the best version of how it was going to be.
Yeah, no, and it was fine. But coming home like that, the flight home it might as well have been a medical transport plane because everybody was coughing. The guy sitting in the row immediately behind us, I have never heard phlegm just like gurgle within someone's chest cavity with every cough. And I'm not one to talk because I was coming off of whatever the hell I had.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to say to the guy after the flight, please go see a doctor right now.
Yeah.
Your health is in immediate danger. Go to urgent care. Do something. Because, man, thank God that we had like earbuds to listen to movies, to like watch movies and stuff, because that was just horrifying to listen to while it was going on. But all in all, it was a fantastic trip. I wish I could remember more immediate details, but
maybe this is a two-parter. I mean, it sounded like a fantastic trip. It sounded like an amazing trip, and look, maybe we saved a little bit more for. I can't imagine anything crazy happening this week, so we'll leave room for next week. And honestly, I think we should split this into two parts because something you didn't talk about at all on this episode, which I'm a little disappointed about.
What's that?
And I'd like you to spend, if not some, but the majority of next episode talking about is how the drivers were in Greece.
Oh, yeah, well, listen.
And more importantly, did you see any student driver bumper stickers in Greece?
I don't think there are.
I would assume it would be in Rhodes.
Oh my God.
Hey everybody, thanks for sticking your ears between two sterns.
Please leave us a 5-star review, even if it's a sarcastic one.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Have an idea for the show, or are you also Jared Stern?
Shoot us an email. You can find links to everything at jaredstern.com.